UFC Fight Night, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2. I'm not kidding, that's the main event. Is taking place this weekend at the Apex, of course, because, no one would have even paid to see this fight. Today I'm going to go through all the fights on the card, starting with the prelims, ending with the main event, tell you who I think's going to win, who I think's going to lose, tell you why. I've been doing really good on picks this year. I'm 54-24 on picks this year, so that's actually pretty good. I want to give myself some credit. That's actually pretty good. But this card is scaring me because there's a lot of 50-50 matchups. There's a lot of weird names on this card. It's a disgrace of a card. Starting with the first fight on the entire event, there's also some very tough names on this card, so bear with me. Eunice Dubin versus Carly Judas. Okay. Dubin is 6-0 and actually has 5 KOs as a woman's fighter, which I think is very important because that just doesn't happen in women's MMA. She got a first-round KO on the Dana White Contender Series, and that kind of landed her here. Carly Judas is not good. She's 3-2. She's lost her last 2 fights, including one on the Dana White Contender Series. But I'm looking at the odds, and I'm like, am I missing something? Carly Judas is a minus 400 favorite. It's women's MMA. There's no way, unless that's a glitch or something, there's just no way that should be the case. I'm going Eunice Dubin, hopefully by a KO. Odds on this are crazy. And women's MMA is so 50-50. I might be totally missing something on this. And if I am, you can let me know and roast me. But I'm picking Eunice Dubin because women's MMA should never be that much of a difference. Minus 400 is ridiculous. Hopefully that's just a glitch. I'm picking Dubin. Maybe I'm totally overlooking something and I will be 0-1 to start the card. But that's okay. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Evan Elder versus Markel Medeiros. Evan Elder's decent. He's 9-2 and he's won his last 2. He has 7 finishes in those 9 wins, which is nice. His last loss was to Nazim Sadikov, which is a decent loss to have. It's not a bad name to lose to. And it was a doctor stoppage, so whatever. Markel is also pretty good, 9-1 and on a 7-fight win streak. 6 KOs in those wins. I think he's solid. This is a really close fight, kind of a toss-up. I'm gonna go with Markel Medeiros to just do a little bit more and get the decision win, though. Josiane Nunes versus Priscilla Cachoeira. God, there's way too many women's fights on this card. They're also all very 50-50 to me. Nunes is on a 2-fight losing streak, but before that, she was on a 9-fight win streak. On paper, I feel like she should win this fight. Priscilla is also on a 2-fight losing streak. She has a lot of finishes as a woman's fighter, which again is just rare. This is such a toss-up, but if this makes sense, I'm going Josiane Nunes probably by like a split decision because it's women's MMA. I don't know. This is a close one. I'm going Josiane Nunes. That's what my gut's telling me. If the women's MMA fights go wrong, I'm never predicting them again. Moving on. Daniel Perez versus Andre Lima. Perez is okay. He's coming off a win against Victor Altamirano. He's gone on a few decent runs in his career and has finished 13 of those 17 wins. He's prone to getting submitted in his career, and he's facing Andre Lima, who has been very promising so far, 10-0 in his young career. He most recently beat Felipe Dos Santos, which I do think is a decent win because, of course, that's who Manel Kape fought and actually had a pretty competitive fight with. So if you're beating him, it's kind of a good look. He's a very, pretty sizable favorite in this one, and I get why. I'm going Andre Lima probably by a decision. Carlos Vera versus Josias Musasa. Carlos Vera is not anything very special. He lost his last matchup to Rinya Nakamura when we still thought he was good. Before that, he was on a 4-fight win streak. He's a submission guy, 5 wins by submission. He also has 5 wins by decision, and an outlier TKO on his career. He's facing Josias Musasa, who has, the weirdest name ever, by the way. He's 8-0, 7 of them by TKO or KO, coming off a split decision win in the Dana White Contender Series, which isn't super promising because a split decision to earn a contract is a little scary. Carlos Vera definitely has more experience, which I do think is important. He's not terrible, I just don't think he's anything super special. I'm gonna lean with Musasa to get this one done in his debut. Just makes more sense to me. I'm gonna go early round TKO for him, I guess. Again, just another close matchup with 2 outlier weird names. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, Diar Nargoze versus Brenson Ribeiro. I nailed that. This is another close, interesting matchup. Diar is 10-0, 8 wins by finish. This is his debut following a big head kick knockout on the Dana White Contender Series in the first round. He's well-rounded, a few wins by submission under his belt, big knockouts, and he's facing Ribeiro. Ribeiro is not bad by any means. He has losses, but they're to decent names at light heavyweight. I do think his experience is a factor here. He has 23 fights compared to Diar, who only has 10. He has been KO'd a good amount of times in his career, and I think that's going to happen again. I'm going Diar by a knockout probably in round 2 in his debut. This one's tough, though, because I do think that experience could play a big advantage in this fight. But I'm picking Deer by a brutal knockout second round. Oh, Jesus. Stephanie Luciano versus Sam Hughes. Stephanie's young. She's 25. She's coming off a win in her debut. She's only 6-1 in her career, and she is facing Sam Hughes, who definitely has the experience once again. 9-6 in her career. 9-6. She's not good. She's not good. That's what I'm trying to say by that. Most of her wins by decision. Can you believe that? In women's MMA, most of her wins are decision. Women's MMA just never makes sense. Again, 50-50. I definitely see a world where Sam Hughes kind of just gets a decision, which would be annoying. But I will go with who I think is going to win, and that's Stephanie Luciano by decision, probably 29-28. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. This is a super tough matchup for me, honestly. Waldo's 12-1, which is pretty good. He is coming off a win against Rebeles de Spain, where he kind of just blobbed him. We did learn to find out that Rebeles de Spain does not do great in MMA rules, but like kickboxing, he's a beast. He's not the most impressive fighter. He has a good record, but he's beating guys like Andrei Arlovsky at this day and age. It's just not that impressive to me. Ryan Spann is moving up from light heavyweight, which I think is definitely a good move, and I think light heavyweights are more skilled than most heavyweights. He's also in great shape. You know, he was a ripped light heavyweight, so he should be a much bigger, like, stronger, better physique than Waldo Cortez Acosta, because Acosta's kind of just a fat guy. You know, he's not the biggest, like, heavyweight we've seen. He's not Shamil Gaziev level, but Ryan Spann's going to be in better shape. I think he's going to be better skill-wise. I definitely favor Spann's KO power more, because at light heavyweight, he had some nasty KO power, and I think that'll translate well to heavyweight. He's just adding more weight to him, more muscle. I think it's going to carry over better than like a Waldo Cortez Acosta's power. And if Acosta tries to just wrestle him and blob him, Ryan Spann's got nasty submissions. Like, most of his wins are by submission. Waldo's the favorite, and I get it, but I'm going Ryan Spann as the underdog to get probably a KO. I think he'll KO Waldo Cortez Acosta within 3 rounds, probably in the second or third. I don't know. This is a very telling fight, because Ryan Spann moving to heavyweight, I think it's a good move. But if he gets blobbed, I guess we'll find out that like he shouldn't be a heavyweight. But I do think he's going to be able to be a little bit more skilled, a little bit more powerful, a little bit better. I'm picking Ryan Spann in his debut. Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham. This one's interesting. Su Young Yu is a huge favorite, minus 700. Huh? At least at the time of recording this. Minus 700 is crazy. He's on a 3-fight win streak, all by decision. Outside of that, he has 3 losses, but they're very spread out in his career, and they're spread out between very impressive lengthy win streaks. He's very well-rounded, 5 submissions, 3 KOs, and the rest are decisions. He's a great wrestler. He averages like 5 takedowns per 3-rounder fight. AJ Cunningham is coming off a loss to Ludovic Klein, which is a good loss. Klein's a beast. He's lost 2 of his last 3. He's a pure striker, and I guess that's what the odds makers are seeing, having Su Young Yu as such a big favorite with the wrestling probably. I think the odds are grossly high. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind someone throwing $10 on AJ Cunningham just because, like, those odds are insane. But I am going to go Su Young Yu by, like, a second-round submission. I do think he's going to win. So I'm not telling you put money on AJ Cunningham. But when the odds are like this, and Su Young Yu really hasn't been electric or anything too dominant, in my opinion, like, he has a split decision win in one of his last fights. Like, I don't know. I'm picking Su Young Yu still by decision, but minus 700 is ridiculous. Damon Blackshear versus Cody Gibson. Damon's a beast. He has great submissions, and he's coming off a win against Cody Stammen, so Cody's look out, Cody Gibson. Before that, he lost back-to-back to Montel Jackson and Mario Batista, who are okay people to lose to. He has some KOs in his career, and Cody Gibson's just old. He has 2 wins in a row. One of those is against Brian Kelleher, who just isn't good. He has a lot of finishes, 7 by KO, 5 by submission. The odds on this are again ridiculous. Damon is a minus 470 favorite, at least when I record this. That's crazy. He's not like some unstoppable killer, so I don't get the odds on this. I am, again, going Damon Blackshear by submission. I think he's going to catch him early, but God, some of these odds are ridiculous. This one's a tough one. Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobo. Holobo? I don't know. God, I hate Alexander Hernandez. I hate everything about him. His face, the way he fights. I hate him. Anyways, he's so consistently inconsistent. Coming off a split decision win against Austin Hubbard, he has lost to Bill Aljo and Damon No Hairline Jackson before that. He's just not good. Kurt Holobo is also not very good. He is 6 years older than Hernandez. He's 38, which is he's getting up there, you know. He has similar wins in terms of skill to Alexander Hernandez. Like, they both have very similar wins in terms of who they're beating, which is just not very good fighters. I'm sure this will be a decent, scrappy little fight, and I suppose I'll go Alexander Hernandez by decision. He'll probably just do a little bit more than Holloway, but I hope Kurt Holloway wins. I don't like Alexander Hernandez. I never have. It makes me mad. But Alexander should win this fight. He's going to be in better shape. He's younger. Should be more talented. But he's so inconsistent. I feel like Holloway is more consistent than Hernandez, and they're both inconsistent. It makes no sense. I'm going Hernandez. I'm not going to talk about him any longer. Songwoo Choi versus Kevin Vallejos. Again, these odds are cooked. Vallejos is a minus 410 favorite. What is happening? Choi is not very good, to be fair. He's only 11-7. He's lost to guys like Steve Garcia, Joshua Kleebau, and Alex Caceres, which are, again, kind of decent names to lose to be fair. Funny enough, he has a win against Yusuf Zalal before Zalal went on his crazy run, so that's kind of crazy. He's facing Vallejos, who's 14-1. This is his official UFC debut. He had 2 stints on the Dana White Contender Series, and he did lose one of those fights. But you want to know who he lost to? Gene Silva. Yeah, he lost to Gene Silva on the Dana White Contender Series. And what's the craziest thing is that he went to decision with Gene Silva. He survived to the final bell. I think that means something crazy. He then went into other promotions, got a few wins, came back to the Contender Series, got a first-round KO. He has 10 wins by TKO in his career, 2 by submissions. The odds are crazy, still minus 410, but I do get why he is a big favorite, if that makes sense. I'm definitely going Kevin Vallejos by KO. I'm excited for this one. I want to see if Kevin Vallejos is going to be as good as I think he can be. Going to decision with Gene Silva and that being your only loss is very telling, and 10 wins by KO and 14 victories is crazy. So I'm excited to see this one. I hope he's exciting. Going first round KO for him. Jesus, what is his name? Shide Njokhani versus Alexei Zaleski dos Santos. Shide is streaky. He wins 3, loses 2, wins 2, loses 2. Like, he's all over the place. 14 wins by KO is pretty scary. He's gone to decision his last couple times out. Dos Santos is a fun fighter. He has 15 wins by KO, so they both have a lot of finishing potential. This should be a fun, scrappy little fight. His last time out, he beat Zach Scroggin by TKO, and before that he lost to Randy Brown, but Randy Brown is good, so that's okay. He did have a draw against Renat Imredinov, which is important. I think that's a good fight to have under your belt, and the fact you drew against someone who's been dominant like Renat is impressive. I think he's more consistent in terms of winning. I trust him in this one a little bit more to get it done. I'm going Alexei Zaleski dos Santos by KO in round 2 in an exciting little fight. Oh my god, I just realized this is the co-main event. We are so cooked. All right. Terrible, terrible card. Moving on to the main event. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2. I don't think anyone actually cares. What's exciting about this fight is that Marvin Vettori's back. That's cool. He last fought in June 2023, and it was a loss to Jared Cannonier in a very, very crazy fight. His last win was in March 2023 to Roman Dolidze. That was a super close fight. It went to decision. Marvin won 29-28. This time out, it's a 5-rounder. And Vettori outstruck him because Dolidze at the time of this fight had terrible striking. I still don't think his striking's good, but I do think it's more improved than it was, especially because he's fought guys like Anthony Smith and stuff. It's just made him a little bit of a better striker. I do think Dolidze's gotten better since this fight. In my opinion, Vettori has some really good losses. He's lost to Cannonier, Whitaker, Adesanya. All of his losses in his career have been by decision because his head is made of adamantium. Like, he literally will never get knocked out. What I will say about this fight, no chance Dolidze's going to knock him out. He has nothing to fear in that regard. Now, I think the striking is going to be a little bit more even in this fight than it was last time. Dolidze's on a mini run right now. He came off 2 losses, so is Vettori and title threat Nasruddin Imavov in a pretty good 5-round fight. Then he came back. He moved up to light heavyweight on short notice, beat Anthony Smith, which was impressive. I mean, Anthony Smith is not good. Don't get me wrong. He's terrible. But Dolidze moving up to light heavyweight and being able to do that to Anthony Smith, I honestly didn't expect it at the time. And then he went back down to middleweight, fought Kevin Holland. Holland got injured, blah, blah, blah. But Dolidze was definitely going to win that fight. His grappling was going to be too much for Holland. Holland was no match in that fight, in my opinion. I had picked Dolidze going into that because I just believed it. He also has a solid chin, hasn't been knocked out yet. This one's honestly really tough. I think what I'm thinking right now is that Dolidze has been on a decent run. He has some momentum, even if that Kevin Holland fight was like a weird stoppage, weird ending. He has momentum. 2 wins in a row to decent guys. Like, I think in Dolidze's mind, he's like, I beat Anthony Smith. That guy fought John Jones. And then he also beat Kevin Holland, who is a name, you know? He's not good. Like, he's not very good. But I also don't think Marvin Vettori's all that good. Really. Like, middleweight's just not very good. And we see that because when Vettori has to fight good fighters, he gets kind of whooped. I don't think Dolidze's necessarily a good fighter, but I do think he's improved a lot. I think his grappling is going to be able to stifle Vettori. He's a better grappler than Vettori. And on the feet, I think they're pretty even now. Vettori's been out for a while. I think I'm going to lean Roman Dolidze by decision. Maybe 3-2. It's going decision. This fight's going to be a decision. Or Dolidze might be able to submit him because he does have nasty submissions. Weird fight. Hard to predict, honestly. I think Dolidze's the underdog. I get it. Part of me does think Vettori's just going to come back and school him. But I don't know. I'm going Roman Dolidze. I think his momentum's been good. This card is the card I'm most worried about in terms of predictions. I've been doing really good this year, but I literally could miss all of these because all of them are tricky. But that's the game. So, go on Roman Dolidze. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. We do predictions, recaps. What else do I do? Fights to make. I do UFC 5 simulation kind of stuff. Thank you guys for watching. See you later. Have a good one. Peace.